Hi, everybody, and welcome to Module 6 of the course. We are getting into the home stretch now, which is really exciting. This week, as you know, you're going to be working on some revisions. So if you go over to the modules link on the left-hand side and click there, scroll down until you get to the Module 6 unit, and we'll start by clicking on the Module 6 overview to give us an idea of what the focus is for Module 6. As you've noticed, and from what I've said in the last video, we're going to be bringing everything that you've learned so far together in these last few modules. So you're going to be talking about your knowledge on, or applying, I should say, your knowledge on audience, purpose, and drafting, revision, multimodal composition. And so all of these things are building towards this final project that we're working on. So using the revision plan that you created in Module 5, you're going to be looking at feedback from me, your secondary source that you chose. You're going to be making your own review. You might be posting, or you may have posted in the feedback forum in order to get a lot of comments and feedback so that you can revise. So as I talked about before, and as we've discussed in the annotations, revising is not just about making sentence level edits. It's really about changing the entire form. And as I suggested in some of my announcements, some authors, revise 35, 36 times. And this doesn't mean that they're just editing sentences. This means a complete overhaul of what they did previously. And some of the, if you read anything about writing, you'll notice that there's kind of three main stages of revision. There's that first draft that you put together that's sort of unreadable, not for anybody's eyes. That second draft that you put together that you're ready to throw out there and receive feedback. And then that third draft really is for polishing. And those are where you're going to be doing your sentence level revisions. So you should be kind of in that second and third drafting stage at this point in the course. And we're going to be applying everything we learned to the choices that we make for these revisions. So go ahead and click the next button. And you will see there are some learning materials for this week, going over the revision process and all that entails. That's going to support what you've already discovered in the annotation material that you've been reading through, as well as the material in the rest of the course. So this is just going to add to your body of knowledge on revising. So once you have gone through all of the material in this section, I think you'll have some really practical strategies to move forward with your revision. So go ahead and click the next button. And you'll notice that we have what's called the peer review annotation activity. I know some of you have already gotten started on that and are doing a great job, but you'll see that we're practicing a particular type of peer review. We're not actually going to be reviewing anybody's papers in this class. Instead, we're going to be looking at some samples that are posted in the annotation activity. And so this will give you the opportunity to engage in peer review and to see what your classmates post, how they might give a peer review, and then overall collect that information as you think about revising your draft. So you'll notice that there are three things that you'll be commenting on as you give some peer feedback in the annotation assignment. You'll be giving some praise, so you'll be making one observation, at least one that's positive, something you think that the person in this essay has done well. and be specific in your feedback to them so that they know what they're doing well. Oftentimes, we always look at the criticisms that we're getting or the things that we think we're doing poorly, but it's also important to notice what you're doing well and to continue to do those things moving forward and apply what you're doing well to the rest of the revising process. So then you'd be asking a question next. So you'll think of a question that you could ask these sample peers about your essay. What would you want to know more about? What do you feel like maybe they didn't dive deep enough into? Or maybe they gave an example, but it needs to be flushed out. And this goes to that evaluation piece that we took a look at in the last unit as we thought about how to evaluate another person's comments and how to really dive deeply into looking at the data that we've collected for support and then flushing that out, not just one or two sentences of evaluation, but taking that deep dive into your analysis of what they've said. And sometimes it helps when you're writing a draft to just take that blurb, maybe from a quotation that you've used or an example that you've used, and put it on a separate document and then just free write about it. And you'll notice that your ideas become much deeper and enhanced because you're providing additional information and you're really getting into the meat of the information that is presented there. You're asking questions of yourself, and that is a really nice way to, completely dive into a subject. And then the next and third thing that you will be commenting on is the polish. So make one concrete suggestion for something your peer could do to improve the essay, and be specific and offer actionable feedback. Maybe talk about a strategy that you learned in some of the previous units that you think they might be able to put into action and apply to their own work. So after you finish the annotation activity, go ahead and click the next button. And you'll see that there is a revision quiz, not unlike the other quizzes we've been taking in the course. Of course, this is just checking for the key concepts from the module's reading. It's a knowledge check about your revision strategies, your rhetorical awareness, and the multimodal composition. So you'll go ahead and answer these questions on the quiz, and then you can click on the next button, which brings us to Project 3 Revision. So there are plenty of details here for you to look through. And so you have been working with different rhetorical situations. You've read through different samples of rhetorical situations, and you've practiced analyzing texts. You've practiced reflecting on your own writing identity. You've thought about the habits of mind, hopefully watched some of those videos on the habits of mind that I've posted. And so now all of this is going to be culminating in this final assignment. So you'll be revising your original literacy narrative for a new rhetorical situation. And I talked about this a little bit in the last video. So you're going to be thinking about a new audience. You'll have a new purpose, and you'll be writing in a new genre. So this means that you're going to be rethinking your work's content, structure, tone, and even the design to best meet the new writing genre that you're going to be working in. So if you'll scroll down a little bit, you'll see that some of your goals will be to revise the previously written text to fit a new rhetorical situation, to apply the feedback and revision strategies that you learned about in the earlier modules, and to further integrate multimodal elements. And as you can see, that's what we've been doing all term and what we've been building up to. So keep scrolling down for the assignment overview. And this goes into details about exactly what you'll need for the revision. So your revised piece is going to be somewhere between 750 to 1,000 words. You should have 2 to 3 multimodal elements, such as images and so forth. And then if you keep scrolling down, you'll look at the key elements of a successful revised project. So you can use this section here as a checklist for your own revisions. And once you've gone through that, maybe second or third revision, you can go through these elements again and make sure they're all there. Make sure you have that clear rhetorical awareness, that you've made a substantial revision, check for that. See how you've connected to the feedback that you've received, and take another look at your multimodal integration, and make sure that you've adhered to the genre conventions in the genre that you chose to rewrite the literacy narrative in. So if you keep scrolling down, you'll notice that it's a step-by-step process of how to complete the assignment. So step 1 would be to revise the writing project. Step 2, review and submit. And if you keep going down, you'll see this is kind of the submission requirements all tucked into a neat, short, and concise package. And then if you keep scrolling down, you'll see how you'll be graded. And then we're not going to be using any generative AI tools for this revision. So this is a chance for you to practice your own writing, critical thinking, and analysis. And you'll see as you scroll down towards the bottom of the page, like usual, we have the writing rubric, and you can also use that as a checklist for your work. Make sure that you've included everything before putting together that final submission. So if you click the next button, you'll also notice that there's a Unit 3 survey that talks about how your experience with English 101 is. And that's going to be really important feedback for these modules 5, 6, and 7. So that we can adjust the course in ways that best work for future students. So we really appreciate any time you would take to complete the survey. And I think we're going to be having an exciting week, and I'm looking forward to taking a look at the revisions of your draft. Have a great week.